we'd like to welcome everyone out to this afternoon's Planning and Zoning meeting. We'd like to remind you about your phones. If you would please turn them to vibrate, off, airplane mode, whatever you would like, so they don't disturb the meeting. And we'd also like to remind everyone that everyone's opinion is as important as another's. So we would appreciate no clapping, booing, etc., because everyone's opinion is important to this board. We'd like to have you watch a short video about how things are run, and if our tech guy could do that, that would be great.
Welcome to the City of Mesa Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We appreciate your interest in the future development of our community and welcome your comments. At this time, we ask you to turn off or select the vibrate option on your mobile devices. Today's agenda includes a consent agenda. These items will be read into the record and acted on in one motion. If you would like to speak on any of these items, please fill out the blue card located in the back of the room and bring it to the front. The items will then be removed from the consent agenda and voted on individually. Each case will be introduced by city staff, then the applicant, followed by public comments. The Planning and Zoning Board makes recommendations to the City Council and votes on each case. City Council meetings are held twice a month at 5:45 p.m. in the Council chambers. Visit mesaaz.gov to view their meeting schedule. All planning and zoning meetings are broadcast live and rebroadcast on Mesa Channel 11. To view the programming schedule, visit mesachannel11.com.
All right, these are the blue cards. If anyone has any blue cards in their possession that you want to speak to any given case, please bring them up at this time. We are going to be, in just a few minutes, talking about and voting on the consent agenda. On your agenda, they are marked with an asterisk. There are two that have been taken off the consent agenda. D1 will be discussed, and F4 have been taken off the consent agenda. So our first order of business is to consider the minutes from the May 20th study session and the May 21st study session and regular hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 20th and May 21st study sessions and regular hearing.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. I'm assuming we can cast our votes. Doesn't work. So those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we will now ask our lovely Lisa Hudson to please read the consent agenda.
Okay, first item is D1, case number Z14-28 in District 2.
Lisa, that was the one that was taken off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said D1, but I said case number D2. Sorry, D2, case number Z14-28 in District 2. 6742 East Main Street, located west of Power Road on the north side of Main Street, approximately 1 acre. It's a site plan review. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Next, item E1, case number Z14-31 in District 4, 1542 East Dana Avenue, located south of Main Street and east of Stapley Drive, approximately 1 acre. This is for a council use permit for a social service facility. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item E2, case number Z14-32 in District 4, 15 East First Avenue, located south of Main Street on the east side of Center Street, approximately 4 acres. This will rezone from DR-2DE to DR-2DEHL. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item E3 is case number Z14-34 in District 5, 10160 East Brown Road, located east of Crisman Road on the north side of Brown Road, approximately 20 acres. This will rezone from Maricopa County R1-35 to City of Mesa RS-35. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item F1. GP Minor 14-10 in District 6. The 10,000 to the 10,800 blocks of East Guadalupe Road on the north side, located north of Guadalupe Road between Signal Butte Road and Crisman Road, approximately 172.5 acres. This is a minor minor general plan amendment to adjust the boundaries of the existing Mesa 2025 general plan land use designation from medium-density residential 6-10 MDR 6-10.
Would you read the last part about the continuance, please?
Staff recommendation is to continue this until our July 16th meeting. Item F2 Z14-37, District 6. The 10,000 to the 10,800 blocks of East Guadalupe Road, north side, located north of Guadalupe Road between Signal Butte Road and Crisman Road, 172.5 acres. Rezone from AG RS-9 PAD, RS-6 PAD, and RM-2 PAD to RS-7 PAD, RS-6 PAD. Staff recommendation is a continuance to our July 16th meeting. And our last item on the consent agenda is G2, Crescent Ridge, District 6, the 10,000 to the 10,800 blocks of East Guadalupe Road on the north side, located north of Guadalupe Road between Signal Butte Road and Crisman Road, 172.5 acres. Staff recommendation is to continue this to our July 16th meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Hudson. That is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Please cast your votes. Passes unanimously with Mr. Arnett absent and Ms. Coombs absent from the meeting. All right. So if you're any of those cases that were approved, you can leave the meeting unless you want to stay and just have fun with the rest of us. But yours are approved, and you'll move to City Council meeting next. The first regular case is D1 Z14-025, which is the 2041 North Wrecker Road, located north of McKellips Road on the east side of Wrecker Road, approximately 1.41 acres. The way we'd like to do this is to have staff give us a short synopsis of the case. Then we will hear from our two blue cards that have requested a chance to speak, at which time the applicant will follow up for rebuttal. So,
Mr. Chairman and member of the board, this is a site plan review and a special use permit to allow a fuel station, off-site kind of, because typically we see them in front of the grocery store. This one is kind of a block north of it. The location is 2041 North Wrecker Road. So the case and then this gas station will have like a small kiosk, 232 square feet, and of course a canopy, 9 fuel dispensers, basically 18 pumps. It is on Wrecker Road. It has access, basically ingress and egress, all from Wrecker Road. It has residential to the north and residential to the east. Since this is a special use permit, in the staff report you'll see that staff has added the findings where definitely the site plan had to demonstrate the mitigation of the impact of this gas station to the surrounding. So because of those and the operation time, the narrative says this kiosk will be by an employee attendant from 6 a.m. in the morning to midnight, but they want to operate the gas station 24 hours self-service. So because of those, and staff has heard the neighbors, we have received emails. You have got copies of those either in the packet or I gave one during the study session. And also the applicant has held a neighborhood meeting in the HOA of the Camelot Homes Clubhouse. So based on all those information, staff has given like conditions of approval from 1 through 8 is typical standard conditions of approval. From 9 through 14 is the kind of customized for this case. Condition number 14, I understand the applicant will want to address. They don't want any limitation on the business operation time. with that, I'll be happy to answer any question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Wahid. We'd like to ask our first person, Aaron Manis, to please come forward. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. He said, my name is Aaron McManus, and I'm the attorney for Camelot Country Club Homeowners Association, which is an association that's pretty adjacent to the proposed site. The association is comprised of 122 lots, and I'm here on behalf of the board of directors, but on behalf of all those owners. One of the association's very chief concerns with this proposal is the traffic and how that will impact the whole association of those individual homes. There hasn't been like a traffic study, done, which is something that is very concerning to the association. It's already on a very busy intersection with no easy in and outs for the possible patrons to the gas station. There's, some abandoned gas stations that would be across and almost adjacent to this proposed site that would have, right and left-hand access. But here, anyone that would be going into this gas station would be crossing through traffic unless you were, coming through on, the opposite end. And the association's concerned with how close that is to the red light, that would cause accidents for people leaving the association, going to work, coming home. It's already very difficult for a lot of the associations, elderly residents to, leave in the morning with the traffic as it currently is, and with any proposed construction on that site and something as a gas station, which the purpose of the gas station is for people to come in and out quickly to fill in and leave. That traffic could cause a very bad safety hazard for the association members. I was informed by some members today that there was a fatal accident that was about like a mile away from the association, and they're very concerned without even seeing a traffic study that would increase in the future. For most individuals, their home is certainly their primary asset, and no different for the association members. The increased traffic, it's believed for members, would cause some structural, damage to their homes, like the wear and tear on the roads, and how that would, impact their homes and see their home values to possibly decline. Just a review of like the assessor's information shows that association homes on average have increased in the past couple of years as the economy has picked up, but nobody wants to see that go on the decline. Also, like with the noise of a gas station convenience store, even if it's just a kiosk being opened all night with residents needing to sleep, get ready to go to work the next morning, is definitely something that's of a concern to the association. The association is certainly appreciative for any type of concessions and additions to help ease the association's concerns, such as trees to help block any noise. And if the proposal were to go through, the association does want to see anything that could be done to minimize the effects, such as even keeping the gas station closed at night to help limit people maybe loitering in or causing a noise disruption to, like I said, to potentially keep people, awake during the night. We're appreciative of those concessions, but that's not to say that we want the proposal to go forward. If it does, though, thank you for, making some concessions.
Leave, would you give your address, please?
Right. I'm with Mulcahy Law Firm, and so the address is 3001 East Camelback Road, Suite 130 in Phoenix.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right, we have another person that would like to speak, Mr. Gary Tishmael, or am I even remotely close?
That's close, Smoky Dick.
If you would please state your name and address, please.
My name is Gary Ishmael, 2131 North Record Road. Lived there, I guess, about 12 years. Got to know the area. Lived in the area about 30 years, so know that particular area real well. We'll go back a little bit. Record Road has become insane compared to what it was 12 years ago. With, at that time, McDonnell Douglas, and then all of a sudden, an exit from the freeway happened. And I think we voted on it. We said no, and it happened anyway. But so that added to the traffic, which is at one time was just a 2-lane asphalt road with a lot of space on each side of the road. Since then, of course, with the exit of the traffic from the freeway and the increase in weight in the traffic, meaning 18-wheelers and so on, making their deliveries to Fry Foods or whoever, the road is actually even starting to fall apart. There's as much as 3 inches of cracks in the asphalt running from side to side. Well, I happen to live on the street, and I can stand there and feel the vibration. Not much, but I can see it. But I can look at my wall. My house was painted 2 weeks ago, and the cracks were filled in. They're back. So there is obviously vibration in my house and the neighbor house, and it's all coming from a poor street. It's just not carrying the weight. So, and the additional traffic. We know that there's such a thing as impact loading, and that's what's going on. I don't agree in the location. I understand why Fry's would want it there. I think they're a first-class organization, and they'll do the best to keep it a clean and nice organization. We could ask for worse neighbors, but I really feel that we're asking for a lot of trouble because the traffic right now, when I make an exit to go from my house, I turn right. I make 3 rights to go left. So it's very difficult. We're going to have to slow people down, too. A week ago, I guess it was a week ago, somebody was killed just a mile away, going 90 miles an hour. I think there's excess. So nobody wants to, we all want a nice dental office or something like that going in there. So I guess it isn't going to happen. So we're glad if it has to happen that we have a company like Fry's, but we want them to really consider us because we're sacrificing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. All right, we'd like to ask the applicant to please come forward.
Good evening, Chair Carter, member of the board. My name is Ali Faki. I live at 28028 North 110 Place, Scottsdale, 85262. I'm the project manager / civil engineer for this project. I'll try to be as less nerdy as I can, being what I do for a living, but I have a quick presentation that could address some of the concern and give you a little bit overview about our request here tonight. I will go over it quickly, but hopefully. Let's see here. Obviously, I don't want to see myself, but this is disturbing.
There you go.
Okay. So our request, this is an existing dirt lot currently. We're requesting a SUP to sell fuel. This is the existing condition right now of the property. A couple of pictures for what exists right now. Obviously, there is some currently dust problem that take place. This is the site plan when we first came in before staff, actually before. This is our first iteration of our site layout. Staff has concern about landscaping, try to get more landscaping into the site. This is mainly, and I'm sorry about those small red lines here, but what you see here, mainly staff requested we added, like a 6-foot screen wall on the east side and the northern side of the eastern side of the property. They requested more pedestrian connectivity to the right of way, which this new site layout has it. The same true, we moved our buffer, along the north side further south, so we give more screening to our resident on the north side of the property. This is our previous landscape plan. This is our latest one. As you can see here, we put 3, 36-inch box tree, 10 feet tall, along the north side, eastern side of the property to assure we have enough screening from our resident on the north side. On the east side, actually, our golf course has been very supportive to our case. I had a discussion with them personally. They don't have any concern about what we're proposing here. This was our first iteration for the elevation. We met on site before our first public hearing with the neighbor. They asked some question about the elevation. We went back to the design board and we create some more variation. We introduced some new material instead of exposed column where you see in the fuel center. We have stucco all the way in the column. We introduced some stone on the kiosk, the same true as the canopy, just to fit in our surrounding as far as design. Neighborhood outreach, we came before you actually before on May 21st. Staff felt like we need to do more outreach even though we had a meeting on site, so we went ahead and do another neighborhood meeting to listen to the resident. Some of the concern, actually, some of the residents brought up today was traffic. Traffic, we came back after the meeting, we sat down with staff. We never been requested to do a traffic study. And this is the case, even, the existing condition and record now, as part of the general plan for the city of Mesa, this is going to be a arterial, and it's under capacity right now. And I will refer back to staff here for any traffic concern. Light, some concern was about lighting. All our lighting will be shielded. Matter of fact, our typical photometric for our fuel center doesn't show any bleed off within like 15, 20 feet. And I have it here if you guys want to see it tonight. Environmental concern about fuel leak. We take this very seriously at Fry's. And every fuel center we develop, we make sure there's a double tank fuel tanks where we have brine between the double wall, so to avoid any leakage in our fuel tanks. So this is a previously approved site plan. I know Aaron mentioned something about noise. This was approved for a tire shop and a car wash. This is just at the same location back in 2007. This is the approved landscape plan. And for the board benefit, I have a quick chart just to kind of like compare between what's been approved and what we are proposing tonight. Same true, this is the elevation that's been approved 2007. So between what's been approved and what you're proposing, our building height is about 19 feet, 6 inches. Approved was 30 feet, which is massive. 36-inch boxes. We do have 36-inch boxes at 20 feet in center. We have less building coverage. We have almost double our landscape coverage. And this is just compared between the two cases. I'm not a landscape architect, but just to give you an idea about different plan usage, just to take into consideration the screening from the north side. And you can see from our tree selection, we went with the fast growth trees, and at the same time, which have get to be at least 10 feet height and can have double the screening for what's been approved before. And staff were on board with what we propose here. This is a cut sheet for those trees. Some of the approved uses on this site right now, without SUP, obviously we have to do SUP because our fuel center, bar, clubs, lounges, restaurant with drive-through, vehicle repair, hotels, commercial entertainment, and obviously offices. We had, when we came before the board, staff actually has a stipulation number 14 for operation hours. And we were attending the study session yesterday. Board has some question about safety. I would like to address it quickly here. We would like to remove this stipulation, but this been said from the beginning, even when we did our neighborhood meeting, we are here to listen to the neighbor, and we never had a concern from neighbor about operation hours. We're flexible about this stipulation if it makes the neighbor happy to close our fuel center after midnight. But I'm going to go quickly through safety concern that board brought up after midnight. That matter of fact, we don't think it is any concern. But question from safety. One thing came up yesterday if someone drove by and took the nozzle with him. And actually what we do, we have what we call a dry breakaway, which is almost 1 feet from the dispenser. So as soon as someone, pull the nozzle, it's a breakable valve, and it will shut down from both sides so there's no fuel spills. Some question happened about sprinkler. Our kiosk and canopy are both sprinkler for fires. We have almost 75 fuel center here in the valley. 4 of them are, we call it off-site, where they are away of the store. This is a couple of intersection here, actually. We have one on Baseline and 51 Avenue that open 24-hour. Kiosk is not attended after midnight. We have one on Bell and 43rd Street and one on Union Hill and 12th Street. And we found this one actually here in Mesa that open also, after midnight. But this been said, again, we're open for this stipulation if this address some of the neighbor concern. Thank you very much. I'm here to answer any question.
All right, thank you. Okay, staff, do you have any follow-up stuff?
You go ahead.
Not at this point, unless you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
All right, thank you. Hey, board members. It's our discussion time. We've closed our public meeting.
I do have a question. Of your fuel centers, where's the applicant? I'm sorry. Of your fuel centers, how many of those roughly are in remote locations? Are most of them on? Is that slide that you had presented there?
Correct. We have, I think, about 4 remote locations. We started recently with a remote location because of limited area within our fry store usually. And those 3 I presented before you tonight, those 3 fuel centers are remote locations. The one on Baseline 51st Avenue, the one on Bell and 43rd Street, and Union Hall and 12th Street. Those are away from our store and open 24 hours.
24 hours, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just have a question. So is there some link between this remote site and the store itself?
Definitely.
So that if something were to happen, alarms go off immediately and somebody on call or ready to go to respond?
We do have link between our fuel center and our store. Usually it's either hardwired through, like a T1 or any internet cable, or like Baseline, we had, I think, satellite connection just to provide connection between kiosk and store. Those remote locations usually are within 1 mile of our store, so they have employees, between the store and the kiosk, so it make, shift easier as well. So definitely there is communication going on between the kiosk and the store.
Okay, another question I have. What about the volume of use in terms of vehicles between midnight?
To be honest with you, our volume slower, obviously, after midnight. We don't do the same volume, so we had less traffic. Usually, we've seen in other municipalities where they request that we open 24 hours so the lights are on, so we don't leave it, make sure safety is always there for lighting, and this has been requested sometimes just to make sure it open 24 hours. So, because the traffic got to be really slow.
And at your public meeting then, did you bring up this idea that it will be unattended? At the point you were saying it's going to be open 24 hours but unattended after midnight.
Definitely. This part of our application
and there
from
was
the beginning.
A single individual that rose objection or concern over that?
No, when we met with the neighbor, it was a little bit that we tried to update our layout, but was mainly they don't want the project. But we went ahead. We heard something about concern about noise, concern about screening. So we took the initiative to address those comments, even though we didn't have confirmation that if we do this, the neighbor will be more likely to like the project. But,
yeah. And I will say something in support of the project. I'd much rather have what you have there than what was previously approved, personally, if I were the neighbor.
Thank you very much.
I'd hear more noise that way than this way.
Thank you very much.
Suzanne, do you have anything?
Yeah, I guess my issues are I'm trying to figure out what you want, and maybe it just passed me. Do you want the 24 hours manned, or you want the up to 12 a.m. manned and then unmanned the rest of the time?
We would love to get, usually our operation is kiosk at 10, to midnight, and the pump open 24 hours. This is our business model. Staff, for safety reasons, that we believe differently as far as safety recommended, that we shut down the pump after midnight as well. Would love to keep it 24 hours, definitely. But if this is a deal breaker for you as a board tonight, we're willing to accept the stipulation. But as far as our business model, we definitely love to have it open for 24 hours. So.
Yeah, I think the staff did a really great job with conditions 9 through 14 to try and mitigate some of the issues on the site from the residents.
Sure.
I'm not sure I want to change that.
Sure. And we're open for that, definitely.
Lisa?
Of the other remote sites, how close are the residents to those in comparison to how close the residents are to this site?
To be honest with you, I don't have information. I personally been involved in some project where we are building on site and we are within 60 to 65 feet of the residence, or sometimes 50. We are about 55 here, I think, or 50 feet from the residence. So this is typical for us, sometimes due to the limitation, where a lot of time we get to have a commercial corner and we'll be backing up to residential. And this is why we take into consideration our lighting, especially if this would become a big concern for neighbor. So we make sure when we design our lighting, we make it a spotlight so it doesn't bleed off outside, doesn't create like a Vegas scenery, for canopy. So usually this is how we accommodate a lot of our resident concerns. So.
one more question for staff. As far as the special use permit conditions related to this, what kind of teeth does that have in terms of, for example, just if stipulation 14 were removed and for some reason it became a problem, what are the options there? Is it once it's approved with a special use permit, I'm just curious as to what the options would be.
Chairman Carr, Board Member DeBella. If the condition was removed, it would be difficult to go back and try to reinstate that. If the condition was in place and after, say, for example, a year or two of operation, it was found that it wasn't necessary, the applicant could come back and ask either the Board of Adjustment or this board, depending upon the necessity of the case, to remove it at that time.
Thank you.
All right, I got a couple of questions. Wahid, I'm looking at their site plan and their landscape plan, and I'm looking at some of the photographs that they brought, and I'm having a hard time trying to figure out on the north side.
Right.
Okay, I see on their, especially on their landscape plan, I'm seeing a dark line that comes across, and I'm wondering, what is that line? Is it a block wall, or? And then, how are the residences on the north side? Is that an alleyway on the north? Is it a driveway? Is it a street? What is that? And are those homes facing onto that drive?
Chairman and member of the board, if you can, I would request you to go to the condition of approval page, the last page. There is a small image I gave that might be helpful, but I will also answer it. After condition 14, there is a small image that talks about segment A, B, C.
Got it.
Yeah, so that aerial actually clearly shows those 6 homes to the north. There is a 6 feet existing wall, dually block gray wall, and those homes actually front to these wall. So if you are standing in front of those houses, you see the 6 feet wall, and you will see the canopy. Definitely, it will be 19 feet.
Okay, so right now there is a planned 6-foot wall
Existing, right,
that shows up on these plans.
right,
The site plan and the landscape plan is a dark line shown.
right.
Okay.
And that's the area, sorry, also they're proposing to put those 36-inch box tree. At the time of planting, we have a condition that they have to be 10 feet high.
Gotcha.
So those conditions. And as far as answering your other question, to the east, the segment C, that's an alley, and that one piece there is nothing. It's a gap, basically, no chain link fence, no wall. And then the segment B, that's the kind of the south property line for the golf maintenance yard. That's the chain link fence there. So through our conditions, we are proposing remove the chain link fence and fill up the gap. Basically, it will have a 6-foot wall all around.
Okay. So then my biggest question right now is, from staff's point of view on this and listening to the neighbors, what is the biggest or several of the largest concerns that they have for this, allowing this to go in?
Okay, if I can, and I'm sure the HOA attorneys here can add. My understanding is it starts first from the location, because the association or the neighbors wants this gas station to go to the vacant piece to the northwest corner of, which used to be a gas station before. It's an abandoned site. So the discussion started from there. Why don't you go there instead of taking this? Then the next discussion is, of course, the traffic. If I can say the word perception, it's a dangerous intersection. We have traffic engineer here. He can give you more data, I'm sure. So the traffic is the other biggest thing. So I feel like those are the two things is disturbing. That operation has never come across to us, that the time, but we from our understanding and analyzing and talking to other cities around, we felt like that condition 14 will take care of the safety concern.
Okay, so in our zoning code right now, as far as the nuts and bolts are concerned, this meets all of the criteria.
The site plan meets all the
site plan,
criteria.
all the criteria that we have in our arsenal of things that we can operate with.
Right.
Okay. Could you please come back and help me? I just flew in from parts unknown, and so I'm still in jet lag, I think. But as far as your clients are concerned, are there any other things that are crucial to the feeling of well-being that the staff has not mentioned?
Well, I mean, we brought up everything, and what Wahid said was traffic, but it's not so much, I mean, the chief concern is not so much traffic being like a nuisance or it's just, going too much, but the safety issues that flow from the increased traffic and how the associations, exit points from them. There's kind of like the more driveways for, a better word for people to come out, and how the gas station increased traffic will impact their safety on a daily basis. So the traffic, but how it flows to safety would be the main concern.
All right. Wahid, you said we have a traffic engineer here.
Yes, Alan.
Is it possible that you could come and elucidate and enlighten us?
Good afternoon. My name is Alan Sanders. I'm the Deputy Transportation Director and City Traffic Engineer. If there's a specific question you want answered, I'll be glad to address that, or if you kind of want me to give you my general impression, I'll be glad to do that.
The arterial street, Wrecker Road,
Right.
how is it designed in such a way that on traffic counts, et cetera, does this fit into the model that the City of Mesa has as a use that is compatible with the number of cars that you planned on that street? Maybe that's my question.
Mr. Chairman, yes, from a traffic standpoint, it's certainly compatible. The Wrecker Road is well below its capacity. It's about 14,300 vehicles a day in our latest traffic count. Earlier, before the recession hit, the traffic volumes were higher. They were 18,800. You can find sections of 4-lane arterial streets approaching 30,000 vehicles a day. And before the recession, they were over 30,000 vehicles a day. So this section of Wrecker at roughly 14.3 is well below capacity.
And through the review process of this project, were the driveways and distance from other driveways all coordinated through the traffic department or with the planning department passing it on to you?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we reviewed it. One of the key points that we considered is the driveway on the west side, because that's always a concern, is how the driveways line up. There's a driveway on the west side south of Kenwood Street that had the potential to create some conflict. We call it offset in the wrong direction, where northbound traffic and southbound traffic in the left turn lane are trying to occupy the same space. Wasn't a concern here because that's an exit-only driveway, so that conflict doesn't exist.
Could you, the one on the, which one is the exit only? The north driveway on the side?
The west side of Wrecker, the first one south of Kenwood.
Okay.
It's basically the one in line with the residential area driveway that's immediately north of this site on the east side.
Is there conflict between the driveway for the residences and that north driveway on the site as portrayed on the site plan?
We don't anticipate any significant conflicts. When you look at, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like there are 6 lots that one driveway serves, which is a very low number as opposed to a collector street that may be serving hundreds of homes. Like any other location, anybody pulling out's got to look both ways and make observations of traffic and act accordingly. It's far enough north of McKellips that there is room in the two-way left turn lane that people can use both. If they're entering southbound, you get in the two-way left turn lane to enter the gas station. Coming out, that section of two-way left turn lane, drivers can use that for a two-stage left turn, which we often see on arterial streets, especially the wider ones, where coming out of the side street, instead of making your left turn in one movement, you can come out, make your left turn across northbound, get into the two-way left turn lane, wait there until there's room southbound, and go that way. That's a very common maneuver, especially on our wider streets and busier streets during peak hours of the day.
All right, I don't have any other questions. Board members, do you want to thank you for your time?
You're welcome.
All right. From my perspective, I don't see anything wrong with this, and I have a problem with stipulation 14, because there doesn't seem to be a concern from the neighbors about that particular stipulation on hours of operation.
Yet staff has a concern.
Yes, so, but the neighbors don't seem to have that problem. And all their other fry centers are on that business model. So I'm not seeing the need for that stipulation. But what do you, we're on the merits of the case now.
Yeah, so I don't disagree in the way you've stated it as a good neighbor policy, even though it may not have been a particular request or demand from the neighbors, just because of the residential around it and the activity that could occur at night. It just seems like from a good neighbor policy that it might be a good idea. And if that's kind of how I've kind of assessed it. I don't really like legislating or trying to dictate someone's business operations, but given the proximity and the closeness of the residential, it seems like it makes some sense.
All right.
So basically, are you saying it's either way, yay or nay in terms of stipulation 14?
Well, I mean, when you guys make the motion,
Yes.
it's just the way it is, or whoever makes the motion, you delete stipulation 14. Now, we have two board members that don't particularly agree with my point of view, and so it may die at that point, at which point a new motion needs to come forward to the board.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
because this board doesn't deal with the special use permits as often, it usually goes to the Board of Adjustment. I just want to give a reminder that it does take 4 votes for approval of a special use permit. Whereas a site plan with 5 members here, 3 could approve it, but the special use permit will require 4 votes.
Okay. So if there's no other discussion, then we're open for a motion.
I will make a motion to approve this case as presented with condition 14.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, please cast your votes. Passes with 4 passing, and I am not for that.
Actually,
So,
I thought I pushed nay.
Your buttons aren't working. All right, let's do a verbal vote on this. Those in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, please say nay.
Nay.
Nay. So we have a split vote. Now what happens, John?
Now we call on the attorney. So you've technically been able to approve the site plan, but you've not been able to approve the special use permit because it takes 4 votes to approve the special use permit. So I think you're going to have to work out a consideration for.
Well, let's hear from Gordon first.
Because of the way we would look at it anyway, from a Board of Adjustment standpoint, if someone were to make a motion to reconsider the motion on the use permit, and then if they were to receive a second on that, and then a second vote would be taken on the special use permit, possibly with a different set of conditions.
So we would need a motion to
reconsider the vote.
reconsider, and then we do another motion
Right.
after that.
Motion needs to come from someone on the prevailing side.
I am so glad you're in the seat next time. Yes, sir, please come forward.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to bring something to your attention. Our store at this location open 24 hours. So just to give you an idea, usually even when we shut down our kiosk, It's at the same time as our store operating hour, but at this location, our store open 24 hours, so we'll always have, like someone in the area from our facility. So we'll appreciate removing this stipulation, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, at this point, is there a motion to reconsider the motion?
I'll make a motion to reconsider the motion.
Is there a second?
Can be anybody. I'll second that.
All right, please cast your votes.
Wait.
We're reconsidering
okay,
the motion. That's all we're doing.
Oh, then,
You named
I
that one.
Okay, well,
want to change mine. I meant, let's make,
Well, you're having too much fun with the buttons
I
over
am.
there, Mike. All right, it passed unanimously.
okay.
Now,
but- all right.
is there any further discussion on the motion?
The only thing that I would say is I like the fact that once you make the special use permit, if they have a period of time that everything's fine, they can go and unwind that. But once you make it without that condition, you don't have another tool.
So can we put some verbiage in the condition so that it gives some teeth to the applicant if it's complaint-free after a period of time?
Could we add to that stipulation a time period to be reconsidered?
Yes, you could. I'm not sure, because they could do that anyway, whether you put anything in there, but that would let them know that the board's already willing to consider that if you put it in there.
Yeah, but what is the time limit? A year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
Whatever the board.
Whenever they decide they want to come back up and reconsider?
I'm just throwing this out there for your consideration. We could put, for example, a 2-year time limit on condition 14 with the proviso that it becomes an automatic case in front of the Board of Adjustment at that period of time, and they'll review the necessity for that particular condition in 2 years.
Please come forward and give me your thoughts on that.
The only question I have, let's say in 2 years, they still didn't approve our operation hour. Does this affect our SUP? No. So our special use permit will be approved?
Yes.
Can we make it 1 year? And then 1 year if there is no, okay?
It's up to the board.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
That's satisfactory.
then I'll
say it.
I'll entertain a motion.
Will you amend your motion? Or we already voted?
Do we have to have a brand new motion?
I make a motion to approve this with stipulation 14, including the language that after a year has passed, if they want to reapply, to maybe change the time of the hours, they have that capability to do so.
Yes, I think Gordon said it slightly differently than that. We can just go back and listen to the tape, and you could make the motion subject to the, as Gordon stated it. But I think it's kind of it's an automatic go to the board in 1 year, and at that point they can remove stipulation 14 if they so choose.
It would go before the Board of Adjustment.
Determine the necessity.
Right.
You're okay with that, Lisa?
I'm okay with that.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay, please cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Wow. We haven't had that kind of an exercise in a while. Thank you all for coming and giving your opinions on that. Our next case is GP Minor 14-11, which is number F3.
And the companion F4.
And we have a companion case of Z14-36. Can we include the preliminary plat with that? And then G1, Hendricks Point Estates, approval of their preliminary plat. All right. We have, let's, in the same way we did the last one, we'd like to hear a synopsis from staff, and then we have 2 individuals that would like to speak to this. And then if the applicant is here, we would like him to follow up for rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a proposal at the 10,000 block of East Brown Road. It's located east of Crisman on the north side of Brown Road. It is a minor general plan amendment request to change the general plan land use designation from low density residential 0 to 1 to low density residential 1 to 2, and also a rezoning request from RS 35 to RS 15 PAD with an associated preliminary plat. All of this is to accommodate a 37 lot single family subdivision with 1.7 acres of open space down along Brown Road with a fairly standard lot layout. They're proposing the smallest lot in the subdivision to be 14,500 square feet. This is a deviation from the RS 15 zoning district, which is one of the reasons they're asking for a PAD overlay. The other deviation to code that they're requesting as part of this is a modification to the rear setback, and then there's a requirement on the west side of the subdivision for some landscaping they've asked to eliminate as part of this request. For a PAD request, typically what we see is improved amenities as part of a package when we see something for that in exchange for the deviations to code that they're requesting. For this particular subdivision, we've gone back and forth a bit with the applicant on what those deviations, what the amenities that they're offering include that make this better than a typical subdivision. What they've provided is, the typical things that we'll see, the open space, the perimeter wall that'll be decorative, the entry feature. But other than that, we hadn't really seen anything that made this special. The applicant has been working with staff, and they've provided a undisturbed area that will be attract along Brown Road to help mitigate some of the density that you're seeing. This is surrounded by acre properties. Immediately to the west, there's a thin strip of acre properties and then larger properties to the north and east. But to the west of that, we do see some of these smaller lots. They have also agreed to provide additional, through the stipulations of approval, and the staff report you received at the study session included those revised stipulations, but they've agreed to provide design guidelines that would be approved by the planning director that would increase the quality of the homes that are built in there, as well as some of the amenities, the quality of the walls, some of the drainage structures that are needed, and some of the retention basins to kind of soften it, make it blend in with the desert a little better. They've agreed to that. They've also agreed to providing desert landscaping in all of the front yards of the homes within the subdivision and utilize the actual vegetation that was on site and revegetate from that, those plants that are removed, so that things look a little more mature, a little more natural within the neighborhood, and it has more of a desert character since this is in our desert uplands area. With those changes and the revised conditions of approval, staff had recommended approval and was willing to work with the applicant on making those changes come to fruition. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for staff at this point? All right. We'd like to ask Mr. John Dawson, if you'd come forward, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to present your thoughts.
My name is John Dawson. I live at 10246 East Brown Road. It is directly adjacent to this project. I'm opposed to them changing the zoning from acre sites to anything less than acre sites. It is completely inconsistent with the rest of the area. We've lived there we bought the property in 1976 and lived there for 30 years. The properties all around us are not just acre sites, but multi-acre sites. Most of us live out there in order to avoid having these kind of cookie-cutter subdivisions. It's probably inevitable that they would have the right, at least, to do 1 per acre, which would be 20 homes. Making it more than 1 per acre seems very unfair, since we have lived with the rules. It seems unjust to just change the rules now at this late date. We all have, I know they have investment in the property, but we also have investment in our property, financial investment, but we have more than a financial investment. We have a life investment. These folks will come in, build the properties, build whatever they want, and then they leave, and then we're stuck with whatever they build. It will be also interesting to note that the wall that they're proposing, I noticed, to go right down my lot line also will go right across or through a wash. And I'm kind of wondering how flooding is going to affect me with when they start putting in walls around their project. I'd prefer to see a change. If you're going to change the zoning to 2 or 3 acres per lot per home, but if they were going to change it at all, but at the very least, I think we should leave it the way it is, the way we've had it for all these years, and the way all the rest of us have lived with the rules that were set to start with. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for your comment.
Now, your residence, is it in the city or is it in the county?
Well, we're in a county island.
Okay, so you're...
Which is another interesting question. Someone told me that they couldn't do septics out there. I'm unclear as to why the city of Mesa would be affecting septics in a county island.
It shouldn't in yours. The new subdivision won't be able to have septic. They'll have to hook into city services.
And why is that?
That's just the rules that they've got for annexation into the city.
Well, if they didn't annex it at all, I mean, why should they annex it? I mean, why don't they just not annex it and put in, I know they're expensive, but they could put in their own septic systems if they didn't annex it, couldn't they?
Well, can't answer that. We'll have to let the applicant answer that here after we hear from the other blue card. So I appreciate your time.
Well, it does seem to me that 20 homes is plenty. The other issue is that there's evidently going to be 2 stories, which means their homes are going to look down right on our property. And that's plus building 20 homes is going to be very inconvenient. It's going to be very disruptive. But building 37 homes is going to go on forever, and we're going to be stuck with this, forever. So,
you're out of time, but
okay,
thank you for your comments. All right, the next person I would like to speak is Mr. David Laurinati. Am I even remotely close? Okay, cool.
Good afternoon. I'm David Laurinati. I reside at 1218 North 101st Place in Mesa, 85207. I am the adjoining property just to the west of the proposed development, and I am in favor of this development. Just like the gentleman that previously stated, we have acre lots around the area. So you go ahead and put these 14,000 square foot lots and build these nice homes in. That's just going to make ours more valuable because we have something that they don't. From the preliminaries that I've seen from this project, I'm impressed with. I appreciate how they're keeping the desert landscaping. They're working with the neighbors to see what we would like. They're taking into our considerations into the project. So as it stands, I'm for it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. All right, we'd like to hear from the applicant. Name and address, please.
Absolutely, Chairman Carter, Commissioners. Lindsay Shuby, law firm of Withey Morris, 2525 East Arizona Biltmore Circle in Phoenix, Arizona. Happy to be here. Thank you for having us. We are really happy with this proposal that we have in front of you. Well, we are surrounded on both sides by Maricopa County, 1 acre lots. The other subdivisions that have been annexed into the city and that have been approved are very similar to this. This is even a little less dense. I don't know, a lot of you may recall the VIP project at the northwest, or just northwest of this project. We went straight to the 2 units an acre, and this one is a 1.8 units the acre, so that we could keep that landscaping along Brown Road. Our smallest lot size is 14,834, so just shy of that 15,000 mark. Our largest lot is 28,000 square feet. It'll be a really nice, beautiful lot in the back corner. The other deviation that we're asking for, that 10-foot rear yard setback deviation, that is in order to promote single-story products. I think people who work in real estate, the demand right now is for a single-story product. These are beautiful, large lots, and in all, that's why the rear yard that's why we're requesting the deviation in the rear yard setback. As far as annexing, why are we annexing? This is very, very similar to that other case I just mentioned at Chrisman and Brown for VIP homes. This is a unique project in that the property owner's owned it for 20 years. He has an approved pre-plat in Maricopa County. We would have saved him a lot of time and money if we would have just developed that approved pre-plat. It was from pre-recession, but they just have some resolutions in Maricopa County that keep some of them alive. We're one of the last 6 that's still alive. But Maricopa County will come to the city of Mesa and say, in order to develop this project, they're going to put in septic. Do we have your blessing? Because it's a county island. And the city's going to say no. The city's going to say, we don't have sewer right in front. They're going to have to extend the sewer line, but it's close enough. We want them to go through the expense. It's better overall for the environment. It's better for the city. Let's annex the city. Let's get a public street, get the sidewalks up to standard, and bring in the services. So my client, knowing that history, we did a little bit of sniffing around with the county. It made more sense to come into the city. He's happier. It's actually cheaper for us to do septic than to pull across this sewer, but it's better overall. It's better for the city. So that's why we're asking to annex property. That's why we're asking for this zoning designation. Again, it's less lots than if you look at some of the other projects that have been developed just a wee bit to the west of this project. As far as drainage concerns, I didn't introduce Troy Peterson and Jessica Sarkissian with Bowman. As you all know, they are very good. And without being an engineer and without claiming to know anything, your flows. Can't interfere with the flows coming in or flows coming off. We will be happy to work with our neighbors and make sure that we don't interfere with drainage concerns. Obviously, that's of the utmost importance for us to be a good neighbor, and legally, we're not allowed to. So with that, I respectfully request your approval. We've been working with staff. We're in concert with all of the stipulations as drafted, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything else to say?
I believe the applicant addressed anything I would have to add, except for the fact that I do want to confirm that our engineering staff has taken a look at the grading and drainage plans. They've been working with Mr. Peterson and his team, and they haven't raised any big concerns. So
I am correct in understanding that they must take care of all of the different washes and things that come across their property.
Chairman Carter, you are correct.
Okay. Before they receive any building permits.
Correct. Those would all be addressed through the subdivision technical review process, but they should have already been addressing those as part of their design.
Okay. All right. Board members, is there any discussion on this item? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt F3, approve F4, and G1.
We can do that, John? Lump them together, or do we have to do the GP minor separate?
I think you can go ahead and do them in one motion.
Okay.
But it'd be nice if we actually read the case numbers in addition to the agenda item numbers, just to make sure that's clear in the record.
Let's do the GP minor separate, if you don't mind, Suzanne.
I make a motion to adopt GP minor 1411 in District 5.
Is there a second? Second. All right, please cast your votes. Okay, GP minor passes unanimously. Now we can deal with Z14-36 and its companion case, the preliminary plat of Hendricks Point Estates. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Z14-36 and the preliminary plat of Hendricks Point Estates in District 5.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, please cast your votes. Okay, passes unanimously. Look forward to a good, wonderful subdivision over that area. All right, our next case will be the GP minor 14-12. This 10,600 to 10,800 blocks of East Guadalupe Road, north side. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this case? Because we do not have any blue cards.
And are you going ahead and doing the companion zoning case with that?
Yeah, yes, excuse me. And the companion case Z14-38.
Okay.
Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Ali Faki. I live at 28028 North 110 Place, Scottsdale, Arizona, 85262. We are the applicant for both the general plan minor and rezoning. We've been working with staff for a while on our design here. We're hoping we get to do a presentation before you tonight and hoping we get a recommendation for our approval instead of continuance. So I have a presentation here prepared, short one, and it's a little bit shorter than Fuel Center. Sure. And as you can tell, I speak really fast, so it's just... This is obviously, at the northwest corner of Guadalupe and Signal Butte. We're the subject property here currently is a multifamily under the general plan is MDR 6. Then we're requesting a communities commercial general plan, basically to get our fry store to be approved in this property. And we're rezoning from multifamily to limited commercial. We're tracking a SUP for the fuel center, similar to the previous case, along with site plan approval. This is the corner in question here, northwest corner. We are about 20 acres of the whole development. The development to the north, it's a different case. It's a residential. So we are responsible for the 20 acre at this corner here, southeast corner of this property. You're familiar with the goal of the general plan amendment. We listed the goal that we meet, and part of our application and narrative, starting from developing a use pattern through the city for orderly municipal growth. Same true for create more advantageous economic environmental balance of build out. Encourage urban growth in a planned, orderly manner with high quality development, with sustainable urban development pattern. Provide for adequate supply of commercial acreage and space that provide increasing level of annual sale taxes to the city. Encourage the development of commercial type use that support a fiscally sound community. Obviously, Signal Butte been part of a lot of communication here before you as being a major transportation corridor. Provide access to several large development going on surrounding this property as well. We have about almost 2,000 homes between current and proposed subdivision surrounding this intersection. There are currently no other commercial corner south of Baseline Road providing services to those communities. And this is not just our analysis. This is based on our public outreach as well. Every item we refer here. Existing and future residents currently have to drive 3 to 4 miles north on Signal Butte to basic services. Obviously, our proposed grocery store and center will provide necessary and more convenient commercial service thousands of Mesa residents. This is about our rezoning. We're requesting a rezoning to LC, which is a limited commercial. This map shows you the surrounding existing zoning right now. The land obviously now is undeveloped. The use will be a grocery anchor, shopping center, fuel center, retail, and restaurant. We meet the requirement of the requested zone, LC. Same true for the special use permit. I know I promised you to go quick. So we had a neighborhood meeting for this site. Maybe you were aware, we were working in the southwest corner. It was a 12-acre. We were taking it through rezoning to put a Fry's grocery store. And due to the site limitation, it was a really small site. We weren't able to do any commercial pad on the site. And when this opportunity presented itself on the north side, we went ahead and pursued it. We did 2 neighborhood meetings, one for the south side and one for the north side. And each time we did this meeting, neighbors were full supportive of our project. The last time we had 17 residents attend our meeting, 13 indicate support, 2 did not indicate support, and 2 of the neighbors didn't have a preference. The major thing here, we've been working with staff on this layout. I don't think staff have problem with the use. The discussion started about the site layout. We went through different iteration here. Staff main concern was pedestrian connectivity and connection to the residential part on the north side. Same true for architecture. They were concerned how we're going to meet the architecture in the northern residential property, and I believe they're proposing a craftsman style or theme in their design. So we went back to the design board. This is our first iteration here, showing a connection to the north side, a typical layout that we think it work. We're tracking here a successful commercial center. We're not trying to get another commercial centers that fail based on our building orientation. Staff has concern about a couple of pads along Guadalupe, especially when it comes to parking orientation, circulation. We went back, we addressed their concern. We're talking about pad here, I'm sorry I don't see it, I think pad D on the south side along Guadalupe. They had more concern on pad C along the residential. We went back to the drawing board to create more pedestrian connectivity, as you see here on this site plan before you tonight, actually. We took a pedestrian sidewalk from the residential, put it in almost 20 feet landscape island, take it all the way to the shopping center. This was about a couple of weeks ago. We had a meeting with staff. We presented this layout. We thought this addressed the concern. We got the feeling that everything's good till Thursday. We had our report, and for some reason we're under the impression that we're going to be recommended for approval, but we were recommended for continuance based, again, on this connection on the north property. So the major thing staff keep going back to is pedestrian and vehicular connection to the residential. We did more coordination with residential property. This is our previous landscape plan. I will jump to the last one here. So what we end up doing, residential property move their entrance further to the west. So what we proposed here, create this kind of like the intersection where the vehicular access is, keep the pedestrian connection where we show it now is the east side per the site plan before you, and our architecture team end up going, doing some trellis design in front of the building and take it all the way to the residential side. So make it, more coherent with what we show in the resident. And as you see, we went beyond a rezoning case as far as design. Usually we fine-tune those details in a design review stage, but we want to make sure we get staff on board. You can see this is a blow up here, what we're doing at connection to residential. This gives you an idea about the trellis we're trying to propose as far as craftsman connection. Our architect here, Mr. Rick Butler, can answer any design question as well. Elevation. Staff has concern about architectural elevation. They want us, again, to meet the design intent of the residential. This is the first elevation we presented to staff. They had comment. We went back. We did another elevation. Then, again, we learned last week they weren't too happy with it. We went back, created more articulation to the architecture. We added more detail about how we're meeting the craftsman design theme. And as you can see at this iteration, we went another level and add those trellis. So we had trellis in front of our store now just to make this friendly pedestrian connection to the north side. One thing I want to mention here, staff, I think, before you presented a layout, and I really appreciate staff support so far. I mean, staff been always helpful and supportive. The problem we have with this, and we had a couple of discussions, and Mr. Todd Kerr here from Brown Group, who's a developer, can express his concern as well. But if we end up moving the shop where we show right now in our site layout to where staff is proposing on the north side, it's going to be definitely a business struggle for us because we're going to take the shops away from Guadalupe, which is a major street, so we'll have a leasing problem. And this is where we're having a hard time do this kind of like relocation. We won't be able to do it because of our business model. In addition, to keep enough, obviously, parking in front of Fry Store. So this been said, we thought, we'll come before you tonight. We are willing and open to work the design, make the shopping center more friendly, which we are obviously with all the iteration. But we know for a fact we won't be able to do what staff suggestion here as far as shops backing up to the residential. We won't be able to lease it. This is one of the major concerns we have, and this is the reason why we are in continuance tonight before you. Transportation, obviously we're responsible for 3-lane improvement on Guadalupe and Signal Butte. So we're going to have a 6-lane on Signal Butte, along with a center left turn, bicycle lane, and deceleration lane as necessary. We're going to relocate and upgrade the traffic signal over there, and we already, I think, covered our pedestrian connectivity. Conclusion, again, we truly believe we meet the proposed minor general plan amendment, rezoning as special use, site plan approval request intent. It's going to provide good and service and tax revenue to the residents, which is part of our City of Mesa general plan. Again, item number 3, as far as needed for this development, this is, again, based on our market study and neighborhood outreach. I've been doing this for a while. When you do a neighborhood meeting and the neighbor asking when you're coming here, can you make it sooner? This is a good sign. So this is what we've seen here in all our neighborhood outreach. Again, there is the final design element. We'll work with staff and some fine-tuning, like a better design for the craftsmen, maybe do different materials for our pedestrian connectivity, but we're locked with our building orientation. So we're hoping, to get your feedback tonight and get recommendation for approval before council. And this is all what I have tonight. I'm here to answer any question, and go from there.
Randy stepped out for a minute. I'll be right back. Any comments from board members?
I don't have any questions, but I would agree that putting the shops over there in the area where you take up that parking opposed to Guadalupe would be a real marketing hassle. I've done commercial leasing for 25 years, and the property is just not a viable leasing product on the other side. Where it is on Guadalupe, it will be a lot more aesthetic when there's actual tenants in there opposed to being an empty building.
I missed part of your comments, Suzanne. Is that keeping it where it is?
Is it more viable, more marketable?
And this is why we end up showing this iteration here. We have it before you at the dais. We did send it to staff, I think, last night. But this is what our color here. I don't know if you can see it. Yes, this is our latest layout where you choose. The red one is a trellis in front of our store. We're taking it all the way to the residential part, and you can see how we kind of make more improvement on this intersection. Again, those are more design review kind of detail, but we're willing to take it this level. And the reason we're pushing for this approval today because of our scheduling. We have a contract obligation to close on the property by November 4th. In order for us to close on the property, we have to have first-round comment from staff about our improvement plan. And this will put us, we were hoping to get approval from your board tonight so we can kick off our improvement plan early next week. And this is the reason. It's the scheduling. It's the key for us, believing that site is not going to change much. So we appreciate looking into it as a separate case than the residential.
So do you have any issues? Do you have any issues with any of the conditions of approval then?
We were open to discuss this, condition of approval, definitely.
You were going to say something else?
So I think you answered one question. This hasn't been through design review board yet, correct, John?
Right.
And I think you had an enlarged version or enlarged site plan of that. There you go. Okay.
And this is a pedestrian connectivity on the east side where we try to take it, straight all the way to those shops on the east. And you have to keep in mind, this was a very short time period for us to come up with a design. And our design team maybe put together, I think, 16 options just between, Thursday and now, just to make sure everyone is on the same page and happy. This is how important for us to keep going forward. So we're definitely open to suggestion. The main issue we have is, obviously, we cannot put the shops over there, and we want to retain our parking in front of our grocer as much as we can so our customer doesn't have to walk, for long away from our stores.
And staff, have you seen this revision, and what are your thoughts?
Chairman, Board Member DeBella, yes, we have seen that since this afternoon. We've been introduced with an additional complication here over the last few days because the applicant for the residential piece took their north-south street and moved it to the west, and that's what's caused then this offset in the jog in the street pattern. We're not real excited about that street heading south and looking right into the parking lot. That's something we've been trying to avoid all the way along and have it something more to focus on and then creating that jog in there. We'd like to see that street, even if we don't move a shops over there, we'd like to see that street turn into a drive aisle that goes straight south and then tees instead of have the jog. So again, we can have something more of a focus and direction for that pedestrian connection. But beyond that, we really haven't studied this in too much detail. We do appreciate what they have been proposing in terms of the trellises and some locations for those. We think there's still some more details that we can work out with them as we move forward with this. But overall, they are trying to address some of those minor concerns that we've had.
Any other questions? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Just one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
Related to that, I mean, in terms of site plan, in terms of the land use, I don't think there's any general objection to what's being proposed here. I think we're getting into a lot of detail in terms of what could happen. I could see that being enhanced rather nicely if they give it a little more thought, given the time constraints that they've had. I appreciate the idea that trying to reflect some building masses on that side. But I think the applicant has stated, and Suzanne just kind of nailed it on the head. What's the viability of it? We'll have to defer to kind of the experts in that regard. Some of my comments.
All right, any other comments? Then I'll still entertain a motion. Anybody?
The conditions of approval have been accepted by you?
Yes.
And then in terms of working out the details of this, how does staff, Eastville staff, you can work with the applicant?
Sure, they'd be great to work with.
Okay.
Wouldn't these be basically taken up with the design review board?
Most of them will be, yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt GP Minor 14-12.
Is there a second? Please cast your votes. I believe it passes unanimously. It does. So.
There is a rezoning case too, I guess.
Now we got to do this rezoning case. All right, and that is Z1438. Is there a motion on Z14-38?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve Z14-38 with the listed conditions of approval as noted.
Is there a second? Please cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Okay. Our last item of business is to consider the proposed amendments to the Mesa Zoning Code concerning portable storage containers. I think we wore everybody out, Gordon.
And there doesn't seem to be an overwhelming demand to talk about this. The board would.
Make a motion to continue it now?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to continue that to the July 16th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you cast your votes? Waiting for Vince.
Oh.
Continuance passes unanimously.
Good job, Gordon.
You are so good on that presentation. I believe that concludes tonight's meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have a few minutes to say thank you.
Don't you dare.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And if Miss
I'm
Beth
the chairman.
Coons,
You have to obey.
if Miss Beth Coons is out there listening, it applies to her too. You guys have done us well and guided us in some pretty weird cases down the road, and very much appreciate your efforts, and we're going to miss you.
No, you're not.
Yeah, we are.
You're going to have so much fun being chairman. That's all those people coming and yelling at you.
So, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Then we will adjourn until July 15th study session.